Number 1. The white dial, the default. Cream or stark white, applied indices, simple handset. The white dial is the baseline against which every other dial is measured. Patek Philippe built entire generations of dress watches around it. The white dial communicates nothing except competence, which is exactly why it has never gone out of style. It is the dial for people who want the watch to disappear into the outfit and reappear at exactly the right moment. Number 2. The black dial. The white dial's equal and opposite. Where white reads soft and formal, black reads technical and purposeful. Rolex put a black dial on the Submariner because legibility underwater demanded maximum contrast. Tudor put one on the Black Bay and made it a lifestyle. The black dial works on a dress watch, a dive watch, a chronograph, and a field watch without adjustment. It is the most versatile dial color in existence and the one least likely to date a watch. Number 3. The sunburst dial. A radially brushed surface that catches light differently at every angle, shifting from near black at the center to brilliant at the edges. Omega deployed it on the Aquaterra. Grand Seiko uses it to devastating effect on nearly everything they make. The sunburst dial is the choice of manufacturers who want to demonstrate that a flat circle can have depth. It succeeds. Under the right light, a sunburst dial looks like it is lit from within. Number 4. The Guilloche dial. Hand-engraved or machine-pressed repeating geometric patterns cut directly into the metal surface. Originated in 18th century pocket watches. Patek Philippe's Calatrava references carry engine-turned guilloche dials that take trained craftsmen hours to produce. The texture catches light in a completely different way than a brushed or polished surface, fragmented, shifting, alive. A guilloche dial under a loupe is a different object than a guilloche dial at arm's length. Both are worth examining. Number 5. The enamel dial. The most demanding dial surface in watchmaking. Powdered glass fused to a copper base at temperatures above 800 degrees Celsius, fired multiple times, polished between each firing. Grand Feu enamel, the highest grade, requires up to 6 firings to achieve the depth and gloss that distinguishes it from lesser versions. Cracking during firing is common. Rejection rates are high. A perfect Grand Feu enamel dial is one of the most beautiful flat objects a human being has ever produced, which is a significant claim that the dials consistently justify. Number 6. The meteorite dial. Cut from actual Widmanstätten patterned iron-nickel meteorite, typically from the Monyon Alusta or Gibeon deposits. No two slices are identical. The crystalline pattern, formed over billions of years of cooling in space, cannot be replicated by any manufacturing process on Earth. Rolex used it on select day-date references. IWC has used it on Portugueser editions. The meteorite dial is the one instance where a watch manufacturer can honestly say the material traveled further than the customer ever will. Number 7. The tapisserie dial. A fine waffle or checkerboard texture pressed into the dial surface, most associated with Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak. Gerald Genta specified it for the original 1972 design as a way of giving the dial visual texture without adding color or complication. It works because the pattern is subtle enough to disappear from a distance and reveal itself up close. Exactly the kind of detail that rewards the person actually wearing the watch, rather than the person across the room admiring it. Number 8. The lacquer dial. A smooth, high-gloss surface achieved through multiple coats of lacquer, each sanded and buffed before the next is applied. Deeper and richer than a painted surface, warmer than polished metal. Japanese manufacturers, particularly Grand Seiko and Seiko's Creedor line, have brought lacquer dial making to a level of refinement that Swiss manufacturers rarely match. The best lacquer dials have a visual depth that makes the surface appear to recede slightly behind the crystal. It is an optical illusion, produced by craft. Number 9. The Fume dial. A gradient dial that transitions from one shade to another, typically from darker at the center to lighter at the edge. or vice versa. The name comes from the French word for smoke. H. Moser and Sier popularized the modern fumé with their Endeavour collection. Deep burgundy and forest green versions that look like dye, dropped into water and frozen mid-diffusion. The fumé dial is the contemporary answer to the sunburst. Where the sunburst uses light, the fumé uses color gradient to create the illusion of dimension. Number 10. The skeleton dial. No dial at all, or as little as structurally necessary. The movement is exposed through an open-worked plate, revealing gears, levers, springs, and the escapement in motion. Jaeger-LeCoultre pioneered skeleton movements in the 1930s. Roger Dubois built an entire brand identity around them. The skeleton is the watch for people who want to see the mechanism working, which is a completely legitimate thing to want. But it requires an exceptionally finished movement, because there is nowhere left to hide anything. Number 11. The panda dial, a specific configuration rather than a material. White dial, black subdials, creating a high-contrast layout that reads like the face of the animal it is named after. The reverse panda inverts this. Black dial, white subdials. The Rolex Daytona in panda configuration is one of the most copied dial layouts in chronograph history. Heuer used it on the Carrera, Omega on the Speedmaster. The panda works because contrast is the most legible thing a dial can achieve, and the panda achieves it completely. Number 12. The tropical dial. Not a design intention, a happy accident. Certain dials from the 1950s and 1960s, primarily on Rolex and Omega references, oxidized over decades of UV exposure and humidity to turn from black or brown to a rich caramel, chocolate, or amber tone unique to each individual watch. No two tropicals are identical. The secondary market prices them at significant premiums over unaged examples. Because the aging cannot be reproduced, a tropical dial is the only watch dial that is worth more because time has visibly acted on it. Number 13. The sector dial. A vintage layout dividing the dial into distinct zones, typically alternating matte and glossy sectors radiating from the center, popular in Swiss and German dress watches of the 1920s and 1930s. The sectors create visual rhythm on a dial that might otherwise read as empty. WC's Portugueser has revived the sector aesthetic most successfully in the modern era. The sector dial rewards patience. It takes a moment to read, and the moment is part of the pleasure. Number 14. The Arabic numeral dial. Printed or applied Arabic numerals, 1 through 12, rather than indices or Roman numerals. Immediate legibility, strong personality, and a directness that suits field watches and pilot watches particularly well. WC's Big Pilot and Spitfire references use large Arabic numerals sized for cockpit visibility. A Lange and Söhne uses them on the Lange 1 with a precision and elegance that makes the functional choice feel like a considered one. Arabic numerals make a dial look like it has somewhere to be. Number 15. The Roman numeral dial. The formal choice. Roman numerals on a dress watch communicate old money, not because they are inherently legible, but because they signal an indifference to legibility in favor of tradition. Cartier has used Roman numerals on the tank since 1917 because they suit the rectangular case and the clientele equally well. Patek Philippe used them on the Calatrava. The Roman numeral dial is the one that reads most clearly as jewelry rather than instrument, which is sometimes precisely the point. Number 16. The Breguet numeral dial. A specific style of Arabic numeral developed by Abraham Louis Breguet in the early 19th century. Open-tailed, slightly elongated, immediately recognizable to anyone who has spent time around serious horology. Breguet, the company, still uses them exclusively. Patek Philippe and Jaeger-LeCoultre deploy them selectively on classically oriented references. The Breguet numeral is the typographic equivalent of a handshake that tells you something about the person extending it, and if you recognize it, you're already in the right conversation. Number 17. The Grand Seiko Shizukuishi dial, a category of 1. The dials produced at Grand Seiko's Shizukuishi studio in Iwate Prefecture take inspiration from the natural landscape of the Shinshu Highlands, birch forests in winter, snowfall, spring thaw, the surface of a lake at dawn, lacquer, urushi, hand-applied textures that no industrial process can replicate. The Snowflake dial, officially the SBGA211, has a brushed white surface that reads differently in every light source it encounters. It is not the most complicated dial in watchmaking, maybe the most beautiful one currently in production. Every watch dial type. Explained in this video, we break down 17 types of watch dials, from the timeless white dial to the hand-textured masterpieces coming out of Grand Seiko's Shizukuishi studio, and see how each one differs in material, manufacturing process, and visual character. You'll learn where each style originated, which references made it iconic, and how to read a dial well enough to understand what a manufacturer is actually trying to say when they choose one over another. Don't forget to like and subscribe.